This is HistoryNet, Mr. Brass, and Comrade Dimitri discussing this lunatic group called the the New Independent Fundamentalist Baptist Church, the NIFB for short.
So, yeah, I figured we'd all come together and discuss the lunacy that is this Steven Anderson cult, which it is a cult.
And it's some other guy. They named this website after him, where they post nude pictures and pumpkin heads on it.
That's lovely.
So basically, from what I gather, they're trying to annoy this guy collectively, these atheists, agnostics, and pagan SJWs, putting pumpkins in their Twitter handles because of something with Mr. Atheist. Like, this guy responded to Mr. Atheist, calling him the biggest fruit since the pumpkin. And they're saying that, well, he might be sexually attracted to pumpkins. We just don't know. So basically, they're trying to collectively annoy this guy into not wanting to kill homosexuals, I guess. I don't know.
Well, to be fair, I mean, there's the same chance of procreation with him and that pumpkin than the homosexuals have with each other.
Anyway, I have a banana pop to celebrate.
Oh, don't let TJ Kirk see that.
Yeah, you want to go up his butt.
But yeah, like, I actually did my part. I actually went on Facebook and I found their little groups, and I really just went and laid into them and saying like how stupid they were and how fucking idiots they are. I also got Inspiring Philosophy to share Shannon Q's video on the subject, just to get it out there. That how bad these people were being. Although it was funny because a lot of people that were saying about how Shannon was clearly acting like an actor.
Really?
Yeah, like, you know, how she was putting on these tears and stuff. And I'm like, I can sort of see that because, I mean, you know me, I'm an asshole, so I naturally don't feel things as much as other people.
Same here, Brad.
So when it comes to that, like, I couldn't really get about like how over like emotional that she was with the video, but I do think her point stood through it. Like, these people are gaining power.
And totally agree. By gaining power, because I did a little research on them. They just seem like the Westboro Baptist Church, a fringe denomination.
Well, yeah, but I mean, at least the Westboro Baptist Church is a peaceful movement for the most part.
Exactly.
I mean,
is there anything
like the only thing that the Westboro Baptist, like, people always get on the Westboro Baptist Church about, said, let's think about the most insane things that they do. They put up picket signs that have mean stuff on them, and they march around town.
Well, I can remember when ISIS
they go to soldier funerals and stuff like that with these picket signs. I'm like, which is douchey, but you know. Yeah, I mean, they're well within their constitutional rights to be douchebags.
Yeah, and I thought it was. Oh, go ahead.
And they're also going to Orlando on the anniversary of the shootings at that nightclub.
Oh, the Pulse nightclub shooting.
Yeah, they're gonna literally celebrate their deaths.
That's disgusting.
Oh, that is. That's. I mean, that's what I heard, and that got me upset because that's just horrible. I mean, no matter what you feel about gay people, celebrating anyone's murder is horrible.
I don't give a shit if you're gay, but even when they're in everybody's faces about it, it kind of annoys me. Like, when I say they, I don't mean them generally, but there are a lot of gay people out there who hate that SJWs are white knighting for them and just want them to leave them alone.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like some of the activist aspects to it, you know, like shit, like what is it? Desmond is amazing, and how they're propping him up.
Well, that, and I mean, you have to remember, guys, that pretty soon we're going to be having a straight pride parade. You guys want to join?
Oh, hell, fuck yeah! I gotta get back my ex-girlfriend by then.
Then
Yeah,
there's this. There's also this talk about Shannon made the video about it, but she couldn't resist the urge to shill the Freedom from Religion Foundation and the clergy, aka Leech Project.
Oh, that's the project for the clergy who've lost their faith, right?
Yeah, and some of those clergymen who remain in the church because they can't get a job elsewhere and still go on preaching what they no longer believe in and get money from it, which is just.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I don't blame them. I mean, it's still getting the word out, even if they don't personally believe it.
Yeah, but the message is kind of hollow that way. But
Well, I mean, if they want, well, yeah, and I do see what you're getting at, Engine. But I mean, yeah, if they want to deliver hollow messages and things that they don't believe in, they should try politics. That's where we expect that stuff at.
oh yeah,
There you go.
but where I was getting at is that she doesn't really stress it enough that it's just a bunch of lunatic cultists and that's she doesn't really stress that they don't reflect Christianity in general. At least I don't see it.
Well, I mean, Cy Gart was in one of the chats when it was going up, I believe, and a bunch of them said that a bunch of the members there said that all Christians are into genocide,
What?
and
Rejection much.
yeah, they're all into genocide and stuff like that. And I didn't really see much defending from any of the atheists on that.
Well, you see, and that's my big problem. If they're going to take an example like this guy, the independent Baptists or whatever they are, and project that onto Christianity, are they going to apply the same thing to their side?
Well, of course not. It's not real atheism.
Exactly.
I mean, here's what's funny. It makes less sense to say no true atheist than it does to say no true Christian. Because at the very least, Christians have a creed that you can either follow or not follow. There's really no creed outside of don't believe in God that an atheist has.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, I think theism is more of an applicable approach.
I mean, it's really hard to gain a community on a lack of something.
I think that Steven Anderson, that piece of shit, commented on the drag queen story hour, which myself
Which is
don't
cancer,
know.
but doesn't give you a right to say they deserve death.
Well, yeah, he said, it wasn't. I don't think it was Steven Anderson. I think it was a guy that worked for Steven Anderson.
Oh yeah,
where basically the guy said, "Hey, let's have some drag queen story hour." Where he said, we hang the gate, we hang the drag from a rope, lynch them.
And yeah, that is absolutely disgusting, though, because
yeah, I know it is, and like you says, yeah, let's have some drag hang story time.
Or drag stoning hour.
Yeah, like that, and that's fucking awful. But yeah, I just thought it was and here's another thing that stupid cunt Steven Anderson said. Like he had said about how, he said, Asperger's and autism doesn't exist.
Oh yeah.
That what kids really need is just to be spanked and beaten and not he just says it's all a big conspiracy from the pharmaceutical companies.
Well, way to fucking play cannon fodder for the most militant atheist, Steven Anderson.
Like he said several years ago he said that the Bible is God, whatever that means.
Isn't that heresy?
Yeah.
I mean, if I burn the Bible, does that mean I burn God? It's I mean, wait, I didn't know he was embracing Islam, because isn't that sort of what Islam believes, really? That the Quran is a holy book, literally sent by the angel Gabriel.
Oh yeah, I remember. What is it? In 2009, I believe it was, when the U.S. military was burning those outdated Qurans, and it caused a huge uproar across the world.
And there's also I think that little shit stain Matt Powell is involved in this thing.
Oh yeah, he's a Steven Anderson follower.
Of course.
Oh, wasn't he the kid who's like anti-video games?
Yeah, like anti-Coke, anti-video games.
Wait, what the fuck does he have against Coke?
What kind of Coke?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah.
Atheists are a bunch of they sit around playing video games all day, drinking Coke, stuff
Well,
like that.
to be fair, it's not Coke, it's Mountain Dew. Get your facts together.
I sit around reading books and drinking Coca-Cola, so that's my day.
Yeah, well, I actually joked about that, and not like because, of course, Hemet Meta from the Friendly Atheist responded to him, like about how he said, atheists are nothing a bunch of video game addicts who drink Coke all day, and I said, hey, correction, it's Mountain
Mountain
Dew.
Dew.
Is Haven't Meta even cultured enough to play video games?
No,
Yeah.
he's a math teacher. What does that tell you?
Oh, I bet he's having a field day
He's a
with this.
bigger nerd than me. Just kidding.
That's really saying a fucking lot, man.
Who, with me?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just sit around on my ass all day and research history and cultural anthropology.
Well, yeah, and that you live in California, and that's literally hell.
Hey, we got attractive women, so.
Well, yeah, but you have to weigh that against, having to go outside and beat off a homeless person every other day.
Good thing I live in NorCal, so.
The better part.
Yeah, so it isn't as bad as like San Francisco, where you have to stay alive to avoid the syringes that have AIDS in them.
The SJW's behind this white knighting for the LGBTQIABCDHLMNOP. Anyway, they're they're just they're overblowing the who's a homophobic, like Steven Crowder got demonetized, and there's people who are like, yeah, his career should just crash and burn into obscurity. I don't care.
Well, this is starting. This is a huge reason why I'm becoming more quote unquote reactionary in a sense, because everyone's abandoning the whole I disagree with you, but I'll stand by your right to say it. And we're just using opportunities to censor each other, mostly the left on the right, because they're the ones that control the institutions, but it's just really annoying.
Well, I remember what was funny is they said that Steven Crowder is a homophobic, atheist hating bigot. He literally, in the next interview he's talking to Dave Rubin.
Yeah, isn't he a homosexual atheist?
Yeah.
And Carlos Mazza, that crybaby, he's like, this is what he said himself. I'm a queer and proud of it. And Crowder says, you're a queer. And Carlos is like, I'm offended.
Well, yeah, and he calls himself a Marxist pig and a lesbian queer and proud, what is he? He said he's a proud illegal immigrant.
That's what the Q in LGBT is, queer.
Exactly, I know.
Are you offended or not offended? Are you embracing it or not?
Exactly.
I know. I mean, I think Donald Trump may have had it wrong. Maybe it's not the Mexicans we need to kick out.
But who?
People like Carlos Meza.
Hey, I'm getting to a point where I'm okay with that, because they're okay with censoring me, and they're okay with banning me from whatever country or whatever.
Well, you have to remember, man, socialism hates pigs.
But you're just being an authoritarian, Robert.
Well, but they do it all the time. I mean, they, as in the fringe left, they do it to us all the fucking time. I mean, Michael Savage is banned in the UK. Count Dankula is harassed by the British police for having his pug troll doing the Hitler salute. Everyone's
Well,
go ahead.
If the Fundamentalist Baptist Church, wants to get the pro-choicer side on them, all they have to really just do is say that they care about the environment and that they just want to lower they want to help with the overpopulation problem.
There you go.
They just want to go
Yeah,
after someone other than undocumented infants.
Yeah, but no one really believes the whole. I disagree with you, but I respect your right to say it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having all this surveillance shit going on, and no platforming and bullshit hate speech laws.
Well, I mean, Obama started it because he literally he made an excuse so he could track a Fox News reporter.
Really?
Yeah.
So I did not know that.
Yeah, I mean, so Obama was one of the biggest violators of free speech.
I know. I know during his administration, they were actually the administration to use the Alien and Sedition Acts the most. They used it 6 times under the Obama administration, and it had only been used twice before that. Both of which were during the first World War One or World War One.
Yeah. I always found it funny is like they also go to these secular places, like quote unquote secular places, like in Europe, and they'll go to Japan. I said, for one, you do realize like Japan, for example, they thought until like World War II, they actively thought that their emperor was a god.
Well, some still do. I mean, you go to Japan, there's every corporate office in Japan is blessed by a Shinto and Buddhist priest.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they think the emperor is a deity. Like
well, like they don't so much think if they think he's like a spirit, like a major spirit or so.
yeah, but less than what the Caesars and the pharaohs were thought to be.
Pretty much. Or what Jesus thought out to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I mean, I've heard about Steven Anderson for a while now, and I always thought he was a loon.
He was
but
the one who made
these people have been around for years now, and all of a sudden they're a threat somehow.
Well,
yeah.
I think was it Steven Anderson. He was the one who made that Marching to Zion documentary, quote unquote, because it wasn't really a documentary. But he was the one who made that, and basically the whole thesis of that was the Jews control American foreign policy, and hence that's why we got involved in Iraq.
You also have to remember, man, that any man that would have sex with another man would also have sex with an animal. That's literally what he said. I'm like, I face palmed with that.
No, that's every stereotype about Christians atheists have.
Yep, they embody them.
I know, but I mean, yeah, it's just stupid with him. Like, I mean, well, here's what's funny is like they never point out the fact that he gets hate mail from Christians all the time that say they want to kick his ass.
I want to kick his ass.
Yeah.
He also says that you're he or that other guy. I can't remember his name. I don't fucking care. Anyway, they're saying that you're allowed to rape your wife and beat your wife or stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, they said that you should get rid of laws that say spousal rape is a thing.
That's out there.
Yeah, because they don't think that a wife can be raped by her husband.
I don't know what basis they have for that, even if it's. Can you think of any scriptural basis for that?
Well, I mean, here's what's funny: what people don't realize, even the word rape, in of itself, does not indicate sex etymologically. All it really makes, like, when you look at etymology, all rape really means is like kidnapping.
It's still pretty bad though.
No, yeah, I mean, but like literally, that's what it was. Well, here's what the basis of the word comes behind with.
And also the guys that the fact that they're called fundamentalist Baptists, that pretty much tells you all you need to know.
What, the fundamentalist or the Baptist part?
Both.
But
especially Baptist part.
They cherry pick verses in Leviticus that call for the death penalty of gays, even though that's an interpolation, and Digital Hammurabi has a video of that.
Well, no, it's not even that. Even if it wasn't an interpolation, which doesn't make sense anyway, like even if it wasn't an interpolation, it still doesn't make it good because Jesus got rid of that. on the cross.
Yeah, but it's not the homosexuality and back in the Old Testament days. It wasn't really that big of a deal up until the Levitical priests got control.
Well, I mean, here's another thing people also have to realize too about that is like there was no such thing as a quote unquote gay person back then. You had guys that fucked other guys and girls that fucked other girls, but that didn't make them so quote unquote gay. Like in the sense that we would give it.
Exactly.
And what they were against were the enemy tribes that will sodomize you to assert their dominance, for the most part.
And to shame you.
Yeah.
Like, so that was a big thing that they were all about.
Also, the Romans were like a really perverted people sexually.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, here's what's funny, even about the Romans, like they'll always go into that and say, well, look at how accepting of the LGBTQ that the Romans were. I said, no. They weren't so much pro-gay, they were just anti-woman.
They also had slaves. Like 90% of the Roman Empire were slaves.
At one point, there were more slaves in the Roman Empire than there were free people in the Roman Empire.
Yeah,
yeah, I knew it was like something like 60% of the Roman Empire were slaves.
Like, you sure you want to go back to that?
Exactly.
Also,
and people don't know that slavery actually helped reduce innovation in the Roman Empire. Also in the South too.
And also, women didn't really have much rights either there or in Greece, which they like to fawn over also.
But I mean, well, let's think about this on the bright side. The Greeks at least acknowledged that abortion was wrong.
Did they?
Yeah. The original Hippocrates or whatever, the Hippocrates rules. Hippocrates laws, says euthanasia and abortion are not good. They're not good.
Oh, wow.
Because, they believe that the doctor's oath was to help the patient, not kill them, which seems such like a radical idea now, but they figured it out fucking more than thousands of years ago.
And they also like to bugger little boys.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's where the Catholics get it from.
Actually, that's kind of a sad story that you bring up, Brass, because the Catholic Church originally, when it started out, it actually got rid of such bad practices like pedophilia, and now you see it now covering it up in their church. It's look how badly they've degenerated.
Well, I mean, you have to think they've really gone back to their pagan roots.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, here's my thing. I don't consider anyone that doesn't do animal sacrifices as a real like anyone who doesn't actually do the whole animal sacrifices thing to me isn't a real pagan.
Yeah, a lot of them are just LARPs.
I mean,
I don't know if you guys ever heard of Vargvakarnes?
What?
No, have you?
Vargvakarnes was a neo-Nazi pagan who burned, I think, 3 churches in the 90s in Norway, and he also murdered someone.
That's lovely.
Exactly.
Anyway, back to these cultists who would quote these quote unquote homophobic verses in Leviticus, but they would flat out ignore what their savior told them, like he who lives by the sword dies by the sword, and love your enemy, and not all who say to me, Lord, Lord, will see heaven.
Yeah, exactly. Also, they fail to realize that there are a ton of other things that they do every day that's sinful. Everyone does, really.
Like hate and calling for the death penalty for that they want the government to do it because they think the government's that stupid, but they won't do it themselves.
Well, I mean, I said, isn't that, I mean, I fucking hate them even more for that, to be quite frank. Because, I mean, you tell me you're too much of a pussy to actually do it yourself?
Yeah, because they know they'll go to jail.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, at least Muslims, they don't pussyfoot around that. They just throw them off the roof. So, I mean, they never go to the government for that.
Well, they create their own government and do it. That's what happened with ISIS.
Well, actually, technically, the United States government created ISIS.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird situation where the CIA was running an operation known as Timber Sycamore, and they were basically trying to prop up these anti-Assad freedom fighter rebels, and one of those groups eventually became ISIS. And many of the FSA fighters, Free Syrian Army fighters, defected to ISIS.
Hey, here's a question that no one's ever answered me with: if firefighters fight fire and crime fighters fight crime, what do freedom fighters fight?
Freedom.
Some of them.
Yeah, it's just
like some shitty foreign policy.
Oh, but you have to remember, man, in Saudi Arabia, at least women are getting allowed to drive now.
Yeah, and that's the causing accidents is rise.
Oh yeah. The number of car accidents has tripled. But
Well,
yeah,
hey, and I think a lot of women actually preferred it when they were being driven around.
well, yeah. I mean, what's always funny is like atheists obsess so much over these women that have to wear the hijab. I'm like, you do see what the men have to wear, right? It's not like what the men are wearing is so much better when it comes to being revealing.
Yeah, they wear those white robes, don't they, in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, they're pretty much as covered up as the women are. The only thing is they don't have the hat on.
Well, and also what they wear is white. The reason why is because it reflects sunlight.
And it's actually pretty comfortable once you wear it.
Yeah, I've had an RN nurse who was my first foster mom. She worked with the Red Cross in Saudi Arabia, and because she was a Christian, she wasn't allowed into the Muslim holy cities of Mecca, Medina. But she did talk about a lot of that.
Yeah,
Well,
but anyway, Brass, you saw Shannon's video about this situation?
Yeah, I've seen it. Like I said, it looked a little acted out to me. I mean, I got the message behind it, and I think it was good that she actually did the video.
She is one of the more bearable anti-theists, but I kind of find that video of hers in particular to be rather hypocritical. Like, since Islam basically teaches the same as this church, if not worse, and I don't see any emotional video that's aimed at them.
Well, she could make it and then say how I was, consistent.
I mean, I'm willing to bet that she and many of her subscribers are pro-choice. Am I right?
Probably.
Meaning that they're completely fine with unborn infants being slaughtered in the name of so-called women's rights.
Well, I mean, you have to remember they're only against unsafe abortions, even though there's no such thing as a safe abortion.
Nope.
I always say this like this: a safe abortion is like a safe rape.
Yeah, like I've seen many Twitter users and even verified users and Facebook users and YouTubers advocate for the genocide of white people, despite the fact that most of them are white themselves, and the same goes for Christians.
Yeah, but you have to remember that's white people. No one gives a fuck about white people.
Yeah, white people are the worst.
Yeah,
someone's suffering white guilt.
Well, I mean, like, I'm so white that I once took a test and it took me an hour before I realized I was writing on my arm and not the paper.
Like I've spoken to a few atheists and anti-theists who wanted all Christians to die and for Christianity to be eradicated like a disease. Like I've seen YouTube videos and other Twitter and Facebook users voice similar opinions. But all that said, I do find what this church does appalling. But I also find the silence deafening. Like when the above mention happens on a daily basis, like membership of these fringe lunatic churches aren't that big. Like they're still kind of small, but it's nothing compared to the people who advocate what I just mentioned before. Like many people on social media advocating for the genocide of white people, Christians, and the unborn, yet nobody bats an eye at them. Why?
Well, it's because remember intersectionality. It's prejudice plus privilege.
Yeah, pretty much.
Prejudice plus power.
Even though I could give you dozens of examples of the majority group being persecuted and repressed and enslaved or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, yeah, it's just stupid with this group. It's really giving Christians a bad name. I mean, they didn't have a good
To
name
say
to
the
begin
least.
with. They didn't have a good name to begin with, but this is making it worse.
No, some anti-theists like when these fringe groups start to grow.
I was gonna say Steven Anderson's like one of their best friends in a sense.
You know, hey, I know what we should do, Engine. We should have
Huh?
an interview night and have Steven Anderson on. That should be lovely.
Oh
Oh
God,
boy.
I won't be able to resist the urge to chew him out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll have to ask him if the gay frogs will be. Well, he also wants the gay frogs to be killed as well.
Yeah, poor gay frogs.
Oh yeah, his name is Stephen L. Anderson too. Yeah, so
This
basically,
whole this
he
whole
runs like
pumpkin
a,
memes, huh?
yeah, he runs this whole thing like Faithful Word Baptist Church, and it's in like Arizona. Oh, and of course he's a King James onlyist.
Of course.
This is what they do to like King James version is one of the least reliable translations, but it's no less significant culturally, and this is what people like that do to it.
You know, to be quite fair, if I could go back in time, I would kill the people that originally wrote the King James version of the Bible.
Yeah, because it justified so much fucking religious violence in Europe.
Yeah, I'm like, this thing, well, brass, that will take away the literacy. I say, fuck literacy.
Yeah, but that's just guilt by association. You can't control what people do with it. Especially when Jesus himself specifically said not to kill people.
Well, and also it would have been likely that eventually they would have like printed the Bible and passed mass literacy. Hello?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know the Chinese actually originally invented the printing press, but they never utilized it.
Oh yeah, these lunatic religious people are the problem, but you never hear about the gays being executed and tortured in China, and that is voted the worst place in the world to be if you're gay.
Really?
Yep.
In the worst place. Wow.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I've seen the one you were talking about, the Marching to Zion documentary that he did.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
Oh, but here's what's funny. He's been refused entry into, like, Stephen Anderson's been refused entry into Jamaica, Canada, the United Kingdom, the European Union, and the Republic of Ireland.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I recently heard he's been banned there.
So I mean, to be quite fair, they saved him from having to break his leg and wait 6 hours before hospital people can come to get him.
Why don't they just lock him up already?
Or just blow him or like shoot him in the head. Either one works.
Well, what I don't get though is that yeah, the guy's a bigot, sure, but at the same time, you have the UK, which is allowing in former ISIS fighters.
UK is pretty much now.
But yeah, it's just like I think it's stupid, and I don't think, of course, not to actually blow his head off or anything, but it's just like, obviously he believes the King James Bible is the inspired Word of God and is also without error. So, oh, and also he believes in like it's salvation by grace through faith. So, and the whole, he believes that everyone's gonna be burned in hell for all eternity.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's just stupid. Although I will say a good thing about him is that he's against feminism and liberals, so he has that going for him.
Yeah,
But
but
then
then
you were caught in between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, I mean, and he is anti-abortion, so I mean, if he could just stick to that shit, that he'd be fine. But the rest of it, no.
anti-abortion but pro-death at the same
Yeah.
time. It's like those who are against the death penalty but all for abortion.
Well, it's funny. He's against condoms. I thought that was just a Catholic thing.
Also, the back on the, you both noticed the pumpkin meme on Twitter, of course.
Damn. He
That was
he has
huh?
10 children. He has 10 children.
Really?
Yeah.
What was he from, a Mormon church and then converted to fundamentalist baptism?
Well, no, he has one wife and like 10 children, I believe. So damn. I feel bad for his wife having to pump out 10 units like that.
Barefoot and pregnant.
Pretty much. But yeah, it's
Anyway,
like
there's this other guy. Do you know what that guy's name is? The one that called Mr. Atheist a fruit, pumpkin.
I mean, he is a fruit.
Yeah, but well, he's partially. He's pansexual, which is basically just bisexual without any standards.
So yeah, so he's a fruit.
Wait, Mr. Atheist is a pansexual?
Yeah,
Oh wow.
and
So
a
like
raving SJW to boot.
oh, that's even worse. I mean, I have friends with pansexuals, and yeah, but still, yeah, it's just like so. Basically, he's a fruit. Like they get mad for calling him a fruit, but I'm like, if you call a black guy black, is that offensive? No, you're just pointing out the fucking obvious.
Exactly.
But you can't joke like that. It's taboo. You can
If I cared about my jokes and what they did to people, I'd have been blocked from Twitter a long time ago.
you can you can denigrate
If SJWs ever take over and succeed in taking over the internet, we're all going to be thrown in the digital gulag.
Yeah.
like denigrating people and their beliefs and mocking them on a daily basis is all it's all fair game. But say something remotely negative about gays or any other race, it's just thought crime. It's taboo. Can't do it.
It really is. At least for them, their views is just stupid with it. I just never really got behind it. Um, how Steven Anderson, these idiots can be like that. Um, I'm really hoping this does. I mean, it does look like they're having some mild success by getting rid of some of their PayPal's, the church's PayPal's. So yeah, but I mean, they'll just find another way to do it, like go to Patreon or something. Churches have been able to make massive amounts of money long before the internet. They can find ways of getting it.
Well, yeah, that's how the Catholic Church survived for over 1,000 years.
Yes,
Craig Reed said he might show up.
why?
I don't know. I invited him.
Who's Craig Reed?
You know that guy, that cool Christian apologist, that makeshift apologist on Twitter who acts like the Fonz.
Oh, okay. Okay.
A fruit.
What?
A fruit.
No, he's married.
Yeah, I had some fruitcake this morning. It was good.
So it's a cover.
But yeah, this is
Just
just.
remember, Pastor Steven Anderson's materials has been translated into over 115 languages. So now you can hate him in more than 115 ways.
I'm pretty sure he does.
Hey. So all this is basically, this is just giving anti-theists more ammo, but it's like they forgot the schism with rationality rules and the tranny controversy.
Yeah, that's one thing too, which is it kind of reminds me of the what is it? When you're not going far enough, so to say, even though a few years prior they would have been on the same side.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you, rationality rules, he's no quote unquote homophobe or transphobe or any of that bullshit. He's just someone who's and he's more moderate when it comes to the whole LGBT stuff than Essence of Thought.
and there's all like Essence of Thought is too much of an SJW even by SJW standards.
Yeah, exactly.
And turns out Emperor Atheist is also not sympathetic to the LGBTQ shit. Like he would he wasn't homophobic, but he was like talking about the gay pride parades and all that, and Kyle just non sequitur Treehouse Club just lost his shit and they excommunicated him.
That's lovely.
See, this is kind of like a religious worldview in a sense.
No, you both should see that. It's comedy gold.
Oh, I gotta see that because I thought it was funny when he told me about it. Because it's like they're turning on each other.
Yeah, apparently like 32 different places have banned Steven Anderson. Like 32 countries have banned Steven Anderson.
Good God.
Which makes me wonder why they don't just like, is that more countries than George Soros?
Could be.
That guy's like a real life Bond villain.
Pretty much.
Well, I think he's banned in major countries like Russia. He's I think banned in Hungary recently. Virtually all.
Wait, why is he banned in Russia? Don't they have anti-gay laws over there?
Well, they also don't like they know that he's linked to the European Union. That's why they banned him. Also, the fact that he is supporting like a lot of the quote unquote liberal movements of Russia that aren't really that popular because Western style liberalism is not endemic to Russian culture.
How did Anderson get relevant anyway? I never even heard of this guy until recently.
Well, like I said, I think it was originally over the documentary he made.
Yeah, I think so.
What was it about?
Zionism.
Marching to Zion. That's Zion. Marching to Zion. That's the one where he claims that the Jews control American foreign policy and got us involved in Iraq, essentially.
Hey, Craig showed up.
Oh, hey, how you doing?
What's up? What's up, guys? How's it going?
Talking about these lunatics that want to kill gays.
Yeah, I think is Steven Anderson been on YouTube for a long time? Because I think
since 2007.
Yeah, I think I have a friend who started a YouTube channel that used to go to a church way back when here in California, and then he's been in an ongoing feud with that guy for a long time. Does he get in feuds with other Christians too?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he gets he gets infused with even other conservative Christians.
Yeah, because this is a conservative Christian. I went to church with him back in like 2003, and then he walked away from the Lord for a long time, and now he's putting out.
He gets in trouble with even other conservative Christians because of how he behaves. Going,
right. That's all this is about.
Basically.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is. They're just fighting. And they go back and forth and make videos like castigating each other.
I mean, is he refused to bake a cake for a gay person yet? because if he does that, then they're really going to get angry at him.
Oh yeah, Craig, do you know the name of that other guy, the one that named the website after, where they post nude pictures with pumpkin heads on it?
Do I know who? I think Mr. Atheist made that, didn't he? The other preacher.
Yeah, the one
McCurdy or something. I don't know. I've been following it on Twitter, but it's I haven't had a lot of free time, so it's hard to it's hard to keep up with what exactly has gone down. What's the final status? Did they got some action, right? Or no?
Yeah, and
Did they get?
what do you make of this whole mess?
I don't know. I haven't followed it closely enough. I obviously the church sounds like they're terrible. They're like totally antithetical to the spirit of Jesus.
Very judgmental from what I hear.
Yeah, I mean, I would
Say
gather
like-
that, but I'm not entirely sure I know what the right course of action is, and I don't know what they've done. What have they done to respond?
They're just calling for the deaths of gay people and want the government to do it and not really doing much else.
Which is
Right.
even
I mean,
worse.
And anti-theists are capitalizing on this and feeding their narrative that we're heading into a theocracy or something.
We're heading into well, this church is like what? I mean, yeah.
Well, it was Shannon
it's-
Q. I don't know if you're familiar with her. She made a video response too.
Yeah,
one of the-
she's friends with Shannon.
Yeah,
Okay.
Shannon's been on my channel. I like Shannon
Okay.
actually.
Okay.
I watched about half of her video. It struck me as a little. Here's some random. How did this all come to pass? How'd they get in contact with these people? Was that some fight with Jimmy, Mr. Atheist, or something?
Yeah, and they're all latching on to him now.
Well, I mean, they got mad because, like, apparently he called Jimmy a fruit.
Right. He called him the biggest fruit, the pumpkin, the biggest fruit. That's why the pumpkin. That's why they all put pumpkins on their feeds, right?
Well,
I think.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he is a fruit, isn't he?
Sparse half fruit.
All right, so instead of a pumpkin, he's like what? A tomato?
Tomato.
But yeah, it's just stupid. But yeah, it's good to have another person's opinion here. So you got anything you want to really say about like? I believe you said you had more experience with him, Creed.
With who? Steven Anderson? No, I don't know him at all. A guy I used to know was getting in Twitter wars with him. He strikes me as just a really unpleasant, like difficult guy, from what I got, but just small doses of him. I mean, he gets in Twitter like the other guy said. He gets in Twitter wars with other conservative Christians, and YouTube feuds with them over stupid doctrine disputes and stuff. He's just kind of like an angry, judgmental guy. Is he involved in this though, or is it under his church? I don't.
Yeah, he's part of it.
Yeah, he's part of it.
And this one guy, I can't remember his name, McCurdy or whatever his name is.
Right, I thought that was the main guy.
The main guy,
under him, I believe.
I think Anderson might be the main guy, but this one guy was going after Mr. Atheist in particular.
Now, how did that start? Was that just like a Twitter feud or comments that escalated or something, or was there? Was there some?
I believe Mr. Atheist did a video on him, and he responded to him.
I gotcha. Yeah, now Atheist Girl is jumping in and.
If it makes you feel any better, Steven Anderson did a video on equality, so that must be good.
What about Atheist Girl?
She's like gone against the pumpkin posse. It's turning into I don't know if this wasn't on Twitter today, so I don't know if it's still going on. But she was like, it's hard to explain what her agenda was. She's going, they shouldn't be using pumpkins. They're propagating the idea that gays are fruit. I don't know. She's mad at the pumpkin posse. It's really bizarre. Yes, I swear to God, she's fighting with the pumpkin posse. The best quote I saw was from Sears. He was like, you're trying really hard to get worked up over this. You should stop.
Hey,
but I don't.
I mean, you're formally invited to the Straight Pride Parade. You wanna come?
What is that? Is that what started all this? They went there doing that?
No. This is something that started by Milo Yiannopoulos.
Yeah, so I mean,
I thought Milo was gay. Wait, I'm confused.
He is gay.
He is gay, but he's a provocateur, as you know, and he's putting on a straight pride parade, which is supposed to be held in August, I believe.
And he's also a gay Catholic. Work that out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, he got taken off.
You're invited if you want to come to this straight pride parade, man. You're always invited.
Where is that? Where's that taking place?
Boston.
Austin, Texas, or Boston, Massachusetts?
Boston mesh.
I was hoping you go to one of them, and it just turns out to be the other one.
And also, like, Antithea's capitalizing on this, like, that KC is a fucking moron, and she doesn't realize that she's making things worse by shutting down these people's PayPal. Like, congratulations, now they can spread their narrative that those damn dirty atheists shut down their shit.
Wait, is that what she's doing? She's going around like causing them to lose their Patreons?
Yeah.
Well, that's what Shannon started.
Wait, Shannon started it?
Yeah, Shannon is the one that encouraged to shut down their Patreons because they want to say that they're breaking the terms of service.
Well, and Kyle's going all for deplatforming.
For what?
For deplatforming the channels? The guys who are preaching this stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
see, I'm not.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I think Steven Anderson and that whole church he's with is disgusting, but they're really playing with fire when it goes into this shit because we're seeing this with the Steven Crowder controversy. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah, Steven Crowder
totally.
and Carlos Maza.
Yeah, totally. I'm totally against deplatforming. Even if the guys, as I said, I made a video about this in relation to Steven Crowder, not this. But you know, if the ideology is noxious, you combat it by putting out videos that combat the ideology, not by removing their right, not by removing their right to speak it. I mean, that's
another problem I have too with this mentality is that there's an increasing broad definition of who they're defining as enemies. Like there's an ever increasing definition of alt-right, which includes even just moderate conservatives.
Right, 100%. And YouTube. And YouTube themselves get to arbitrarily decide what's hate speech and what's not. And as I pointed out, I just made a video about this, and I pointed out that, atheist YouTubers should be purists, free speech purists, because they're at risk too. Once the Muslims get hip to the fact that they can take down channels because Muslim hate speech, they'll go after Telltale Atheist or somebody or whoever.
Well, here's the problem too. It was kind of the atheist movement that begun this whole shit too, because a lot of them were into the whole, and we see it now. They're into the whole deplatforming of anything they consider homophobic or intolerant or whatever.
They tried that shit with Manuela,
and they succeeded. Although this was before the actual companies catered to their whims, so. Back then, it was more like mass hoarding.
But I know, can't you tell that a lot of these anti-theists are just virtue signaling and not really they don't really care. Like you remember when we did our resignation from Red Pill Religion, and Godless Cranium took note that I said that, all right, we're left Red Pill, but we still love Andrew Stratelity. So then Godless Cranium was like, oh, he just declared his love for Andrew, and I'm like, so being gay is a bad thing now?
And there you go. We should have responded with that because I remember he wasn't, too impressed with it. He said, "Oh, you guys are still bringing up Holocaust comparisons." It's like,
well, yeah, it's anti-Christian propaganda is similar to anti-Jewish propaganda back in Germany before they actually took action.
Well, yeah, and also we did call out, like Max was, because we made that in response to Max and him going off comparing every anti-theist to, Nazi Germany. And I think that's just, ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think actually more the anti-theist movement, their propaganda is more similar to the communist anti-religious propaganda.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's
Germany.
We're not communists. That's not true atheism.
Yeah, history tells another story, though.
When have anti-theists ever been good at history?
Not really. Oh, I like how Tim O'Neill did on his History for Atheists website. He had a good article on Pope Pius XII and the Nazis.
Yeah, he's planning to do articles on the a Soviet anti-religious campaign soon.
Oh, that's good because yeah, that's definitely needed. I'm recently rereading a book. I think I mentioned this before. The book, but not the fact that I'm rereading it right now. It's called "The Hidden Tibet," which is about the history of Tibet, and it goes into when China invaded in 1950, how they killed all the Buddhist monks and believers and destroyed the monasteries. And Mao Zedong said to the Dalai Lama, "Religion is poison," that his people were inferior because of it.
That's not the only thing that Hitchens plagiarized.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's kind of fascinating. One thing I do think that Christians make as a mistake when they talk about like the historical religious persecution of Christians in the USSR is that they only point out about Christians. They don't point out about, say, the other faiths. Even if you're not a Christian, I'd point out the persecution of the other faiths too, like Buddhism in Mongolia during the Choibosan regime.
Yeah, I mean, technically, Buddhists are like non-theistic religions.
It's a non-theistic religion. Also, there's the Falun Gong issue in China, which is still going on.
That's still going on? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, you didn't know? Oh, you heard about that? Yeah,
Yeah, a long time ago, they gassed a subway in like the late 80s.
Oh no. That was a different. That was Japan. In Japan, that was
in the 90s.
Yeah, that was Japan in the mid 90s with Shriko. That was a completely different cult.
That wasn't Falun Gong?
No, that wasn't Falun Gong. Falun Gong was Falun Gong was a completely pacifistic faith that emerged in the 1990s. Shortly, kind of like right after Deng Xiaoping had stepped down, and the Chinese Communist Party started persecuting them in 1999 onward.
God, I miss 1990.
I got you.
Yeah. So it's a lot. Although what's funny is that they use in their propaganda apparatus of the Chinese Communist Party, they tried to compare Falun Gong to Shriko.
Yeah. But yeah, I just think it's just like the Steven Anderson character is very stupid. I think that I'm hoping like I believe. Do you know about Craig? Do you know, Craig, about how they're going to be celebrating the deaths of this like you can talk
The Orlando shooting.
Yeah, the Orlando shooting.
Oh no, is that really what they're doing? Wow.
Yeah, they're gonna try to go there and just celebrate protests.
That's dark. Wow, that's really messed up.
Is there gonna be?
That's really far gone, man. That's weird. That's really far gone, like level of gay hating. That's not just like, wow, that's pretty extreme.
And of course, anti-theists aren't going to distinguish this from actual Christianity in of itself because it fits their agenda.
Even though I bet you there's going to be Christians protesting against them.
Well, yeah.
Oh, I'm sure there will be. Yeah, totally.
If on the
I don't think
on the bright side, I heard there's going to be free food there. So yeah.
so check it out.
Well, I mean, I'm an omnist and I'm more of a Christian than these fuckers.
Yeah, so it's just weird. With these, like, Orlando's not that far from me. Hell, I have a friend in Orlando. Maybe we can go there and visit, and see about the food.
Well, yeah, it's going to be for the 3-year anniversary of the Pulse nightclub terror attack, right?
Yep.
Wow, that's pretty dark. I mean, that's also like really kind of stupid because you're gonna all reasonable people who you could potentially win to a cause are going to be immediately turned off by that. How you could not know that, I don't know.
Yeah, but like flat earthers, they're growing and it's inexplicable.
This particular group of Christians is growing. Is that true?
Apparently, they have churches in America and Canada and some other country.
They don't understand that the Catholic Church never taught the Earth was flat, contrary to myth.
Well, yeah. It's clearly flat, and it's on the back of a giant turtle.
Underneath the glass dome.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Wow, no, I didn't. I haven't paid close enough attention to the controversy. I watched about half of Shannon's video, and And my thought was like, why are you even concerning you? There's KKK groups in America too. Like, why is everybody even paying attention to this? You know what I mean?
The KKK is pretty declawed. The modern KKK is pretty declawed. Like, if you listen to them, like the modern ones, they're saying that we want to distinguish ourselves from the more terroristic versions of us in the 60s. Like, that's basically what they're saying. Saying we're not bad like those people.
You should see. I lost my train of thought.
Well, you didn't have a thought to begin with, so how could you lose it?
But I didn't realize they were growing. That's wild. And they were. Is Steven Anderson related to these guys? Does he have something to do with this?
Yeah, he's like one of the main guys, and there's this other guy whose name we keep forgetting. But
wow, that's really weird. Because I always thought of Steve. As far as I had known Steven Anderson, I always thought of him as like a on the extreme side of a conservative Christian. But I didn't think he was so far gone that he'd be like, pro joining up. Gathering at the anniversary of a mass murder. That's pretty out there.
He also says it's okay to beat your wives and beat the autism out of your kids.
Well, no, he denies that autism exists, and that really all the children need is to be beaten.
That's even worse in a way.
Yeah.
ADD and autism do not exist, according to him. And
right, but so what's their solution? Are they trying to say that they should be deplatformed and have their PayPals taken away?
We'd be better off if they were deplatformed, but that would go against the Constitution.
Well, it also goes.
And anti-theists are stressing that they're protected under the banner of religion.
The Constitution only says that the government can't deplatform you. That says nothing about private companies.
Yeah, but a lot of that's a common misconception. A lot of these private companies were actually partnered with the government, like Twitter was.
Yeah, but private companies can deplatform really whoever they want because they're not the government.
Right, but it's a dangerous road to go down, because
especially when we're dealing with monopolies.
Yes, because we are. That's exactly what I was saying in the video. We're dealing with the monopoly. And YouTube is a public platform, and it's really the only one. So, I'm not cool with deplatforming and having channels taken down.
Well, not to mention, it's making a lot of people unsympathetic. Like, we're losing the whole, I disagree with you, but I will respect your right to say it, mentality. Everyone wants to censor each other now. I know a lot of conservatives who are going to then, they're praising people like Hungary for censoring, the liberal movements there.
Right.
And they're saying there's no difference. Huh?
If it just becomes a naked power play, then it becomes power and who owns the platform. And, it's in the hands of left-leaning people right now, but it could easily double back. That's what I said to atheists. They should be free speech purists, because they're a lot of them criticize Islam, things like that. Those could be taken down as hate speech.
Well, and on that too, they started out, the anti-theist movement. They started out as being free speech purists, but now it's like, because the big tech industries cater to them along with the political left. Free speech goes out the window.
Right, and the whole PC madness is starting to affect even the atheists and the anti-theists. They're starting to get more caught up in it.
Oh yeah, you had the in 2014 you had the skeptic schism, as they call it, when Gamergate happened. That caused the anti-feminist atheists like T.J. Kirk, Sargon of Akkad to go on one side, and then the feminist atheists go, like Rebecca Watson.
Is that atheism 2.0 when they're talking about that? When they say like
that was the other schism, atheism plus, when that happened.
Yeah, what one's that? That's a different schism.
Yeah, that was back in, with Carrier and Aaron Robb promoting them, and somehow they're relevant now because SJW atheists made a comeback.
Wait, was that the skeptic schism?
Yeah,
I get confused sometimes.
That might be the same one with Sargon of Akkad and that one atheist who ran a podcast, Thomas something.
I know Sargon. He started out with Gamergate. That was 2014.
It was back in 2016.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big difference between saying what this guy preaches and practices is wrong, and here's why, and he shouldn't be allowed to say it. We got to deplatform. Those are two really big different things. One is scary, the other is the only thing to do. Combat the ideology. If you take away
you can't censor someone unless they're actually encouraging violence. Well, are they encouraging violence though, in a sense?
Well, I thought it's
they
inciting
want
violence.
the government to do violence.
Right. That's not inciting violence. That's not like saying we go kill these atheists right now. That's saying we want to change the laws so that, or go kill these. That's a really big difference.
It's still
inciting
bigoted,
of violence.
Yeah, it's still bigoted, of course.
Oh, of course. I'm not arguing that. I just think that they should be. I thought those guys were all. I thought all those guys were like free speech. Even the non sequiturs. I thought that's what they were all about: combating ideology and bad ideas, challenging bad ideas.
Well, and I said this before. No one really believes the whole "I disagree with you," but I respect your right to say it. I mean, unless you're some kind of autistic libertarian.
Brass.
Yeah, Brass
is an autistic libertarian.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'm
Brass
here.
is the
Sorry,
autistic.
I had to get my food.
I was just saying that no one really believes the whole I disagree with you, but I respect your right to say it mentality unless you're some kind of autistic libertarian.
Fuck you. But yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Like, I mean, I think it's just stupid because I think better ideas will. People always get this silly idea that YouTube is a marketplace of ideas. I say no, it's a meme machine. The better meme wins. But
yeah, but YouTube was created by people like Alex Jones and InfoWars. It was created by bum fights and people ranting about how they saw weird aliens when they got high. YouTube was created by that shit.
It started with cat videos, and then it got from there.
Yeah, exactly. It was YouTube. You are the part of the tube.
And the asshole that opened up the gates of hell that's YouTube atheism was Brett Keane. And then when he apostatized out of atheism, they basically ruined him.
Who is it? Brett Keane?
Yeah.
He's basically the guy that PJ Kirk thought out to be.
Yeah, that locale.
Oh wow! I did not know that.
It was him and TJ and Dusty and Dark Matter.
Those were the originators of YouTube atheism?
Yeah, them and Thunderfoot and Armored Skeptic, and they're the old guard.
Yeah, those are the people I actually used to watch. Cult of Dusty and Amazing Atheist and Thunderfoot and Jacqueline Glenn and Christina Rad. That's long before I got on Twitter. I was watching them for entertainment.
Wait, were you originally an atheist?
No.
Okay.
No, I was just watching them just out of curiosity, just as a Christian. But I thought they were entertaining. TJ, he's not that funny anymore, but he was back then. He was pretty funny. I guess he's still good now.
Yeah, he was a clown. That's what
he
did.
But he was relatively entertaining. I haven't watched him in a long time.
I suppose.
I admit I laughed at him when he got caught with the whole banana up his ass
and pouring oil on his balls.
Oh, yeah, like what the fuck? How much pot did he smoke to do that shit?
Just
sober.
Oh, he was sober? Oh wow.
Yeah, it's just
you don't want to see what he does when he's high.
Oh fuck no! I'll have to gouge my own eyes out.
But anyway, he embraces nihilism, and that's what it's all about, anyway, right?
Exactly. This is why I think the whole atheist movement isn't going to last too long. At least, the internet aspect of it, because they're not really fighting for any real values. I mean, they'll say, "Oh, we're fighting for rationality, science, secularism, whatever," but you can't really build a civilization off those things.
Like Christian, like these lunatics trying to be Christians, that they're calling for deaths of gay people. Like, that reminds me of anti-theists who claim to be for science and rationality and logic, even though all they do is just pay lip service to it and little else.
Well, yeah, it's a vague, nebulous term. It's become to both of those groups.
Words like skeptic, rationality, and all that, all it really is it's just like, it's words designed to make you feel better about yourself, and atheists really need that. I mean, it's sort of like if a guy says to you that he's a cuddly teddy bear, it's not actually supposed to have any intellectual or even respectable merit to it. It's just supposed to be something that a person says to make themselves feel better about their shitty life.
Oh, but they'll swear that they're happy, and atheists are more happier than religious people, and atheist countries are the happiest, and religious countries are not.
Which are all very selective, and they're cherry picking.
Well, I mean, and they're not even secular. They have state churches, and the government helps them pay for those churches.
Yeah, so
We should just go back to John Bucks says, let's just go back to the simpler times when YouTube was just cat videos.
I kind of
John Buck is John Buck in the audience?
Yep.
I kind of I miss the era of like FPS Russia and Ray William Johnson in a sense.
Yeah, I like Ray William Johnson.
Back when he did =3, it was, I look back with that, and I look back at that era with nostalgia, because it was before we dealt with the politics and the atheism versus religion, and getting history right.
Sure, I look at the '90s with nostalgia.
Have you guys tried any of these alternative?
Yeah.
What?
Has anybody tried any of these alternative to like BitChute or any of those?
I've heard a lot of people are actually converting because they're getting prepared for the no platforming, because I think a lot of people are figuring it's not if they're going to deplatform you, it's when they are.
Yeah, so that's scary. That's scary, man.
Yeah, a lot of the YouTubers I know, like Sticks Hexenhammer, 666, they're keeping kind of dual channels, one on YouTube and one on BitChute or some other platform in case they get taken out.
I know that guy. That guy's pretty good, actually.
Computing Forever also has a BitChute and David Wood.
Oh yeah, everyone's creating second channels on different platforms.
Because there's because of a YouTube purge, supposedly. Steven Crowder even got demonetized.
Well, what happened with that is that he made a response to Carlos Maza of Vox. Yeah. And he, said a lot of shit, posting and joking, calling him a lesbian queer and a Mexican, which is what he calls himself.
Even though he himself says he's a queer.
Yeah, and a proud undocumented, immigrant, whatever. And now, because he pressured YouTube to, because they don't care about gay people, whatever. They're now YouTube's now using a scorched earth policy and are demonetizing everyone and deplatforming everyone. They're deleting videos. It's a nightmare.
Even Friend of Forever's main channel is demonetized.
Oh, Friended got hit?
Yeah, Think Club.
Yeah, it got demonetized.
Oh shit. Yeah, this is getting serious. And like
that's the one with 70 or 80 some subscribers.
Yeah, that was funny. I mean, what I found funny about Friended Forever too, I remember this is a general thing I always find funny when anyone says it, but it's just like him. Like in one video, he was talking about how him and his girlfriend, or wife or whatever, they're going to be trying to have a child, and I said, I always just find it funny when people say that. So basically, what you've told your audience is that you and your wife are just going to start having sex now without a condom. So, yeah. I mean, why
Yeah.
couldn't you just say that? That'd be much more informative.
Anyway, John Buck says. John Buck says, "Hi, Craig. What do you think
What's
the Democrats' pick is to go against Trump will be?"
looks to be? Is he asking that for real? I think it's probably going to be Joe Biden, but it looks like he's losing a little steam.
They're going to
The
put up
Democrats.
someone. They're going to put up someone like Elizabeth Warren or Kamala Harris, because even Joe Biden, he's like being seen as a rich old white guy now, and they have to appease the kind of growing progressive faction. You know, like the Ilhan Omar and Alexandria Cortez types.
Oh, yeah, that Cortez.
I want Biden to become one of the Democratic Party because if Biden wins, Trump is destined to win the nomination. He's
I
destined
know
to win it.
party wants Trump to win so you can swim in leftist tears.
Yeah, I know. I'm the kind of guy where if I'm going to get shit, I want the biggest shit. I don't want to go for second best.
Actually went there was actually a protest in the UK in London when he went there and like resist Cheeto Hitler.
Ha. But yeah, this whole demonetization, and deplatforming that's going on with YouTube, it is a bloody nightmare. They're going after what they call borderline content, which is basically anyone who disagrees with the establishment left. And what's funny is that even many left-wing YouTubers, like I think Jimmy Dore, is siding with Crowder because they know that could mean they'll be next on the chopping block.
Yeah, there's a lot of like alt leftists that at first glance people will think are alt right because they have a weird take on things, and they'll be on the chopping block too.
Yeah,
a lot of atheists will be on the chopping block. That's why they should be against him.
And what YouTube is trying to do.
I'm fine with atheists being on the chopping blocks. I'm just against everyone else, really.
Yeah, but the reason why they're doing this is because they're trying to turn YouTube into another TV channel. They're trying to mainstream like MSNBC and CNN and the one right wing channel that will be mainstream will be like Fox News. They're trying to legacy media the YouTube that we're on.
Do you ever have a hard time figuring out which is worse, Fox News or the Young Turks?
Young Turks.
Anyway, John Smith says the NIFB quote-unquote church is malevolent garbage. I'm not fond of fundagelicals and anti-theism, but at least most people aren't calling for change to the laws in order to legally execute homosexuals.
Yeah, can't argue with that. It's a whole new level of like it's taken extremist views to a whole new playing field. I mean, they go protest at the anniversary of a massacre. That's dark. That's not a good look for Christian. That's really like,
to say the least.
It's
that's
not even close to Christian. That's like Antichrist.
No, but in anti-theist land, it's no difference.
Yeah, but they know better. I mean, they kind of say that and they'll use it, but underneath it all, they know there's a really big difference between, or some of them do. Anyways, some know.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts?
No.
Here's my closing thought. I condemn the new independent Baptist, fundamentalist guy. I think that guy's a piece of shit. He's disgusting. He has disgusting views. But yeah, that's my closing thought.
I'm with that, but I think that we should be careful about deplatforming people.
Exactly.
Because as he's pointing out, that gets scary. It really shouldn't be happening until in the most extreme of circumstances. I don't think Alex Jones should have been deplatformed at all. At all. I think that's scary. Maybe you could make a ghetto. That's what I said in one of my videos. Like where people who have like hateful or twisted views get like demonetized and they only can broadcast at certain hours, and they're not on search engine.
I've mentioned that too before. If you deplatform people who do have controversial ideas, they're going to get more radical, and then they'll find echo chambers and that could lead to violence.
Yeah, exactly. And because you haven't combated the idea. The ideas are still there and the people are still there. They're just in secret now. So you haven't done anything about the ideology. And it's like a disease. Yeah, they'll just find a new, more radical strain to crop up somewhere else.
Coon says non sequitur show will get it sooner or later.
Yeah, they'll be sent to the chopping block. If you're listening, eventually they'll come for you.
Anyway, Craig, did you see that when they excommunicated Emperor Atheist?
I didn't catch that whole war. That looked like an interesting one.
It's comedy gold. Like even Shannon flipped out, and like I'm like, why are you upset for? Like that. Then I find out she's bisexual, or she claims to be on Twitter.
Oh wow.
Was he friends with these guys? Was he like?
Yeah.
I don't really know who that guy was. Was he
Emperor
kind of
Atheist he's a edgelord atheist. He was with them when they did a memorial show to Hitchens.
Oh, okay, so he's one of the in crowd. No, I didn't.
He was, but then he got excommunicated because he's not sympathetic with the gay shit. So, just quoting him.
Yeah, no, I didn't get to see much of it. I saw tiny bits of it, but not enough to really follow it.
Yeah.
I will say too, I'm also against what I call the quote unquote intolerant tolerance. Like if you're a Christian who believes homosexuality is a sin, that's bullshit to consider that intolerant, so and hateful or bigoted, because you could still believe homosexuality is sinful, but acknowledge your like say you're sinful even more, just for having lustful thoughts or whatever. If you catch my drift.
John Buck says, yeah, Steve's already in hot water with hosting JF and defending rationality rules.
Really, yeah, because I know JF, John Francois Garapi, I think is the guy. He's in with the alt-right, I believe.
Yeah. Even though they non sequitur literally had a Marxist on there.
Yeah, Vosh.
And that porn star that abused her kid may or may not have abused her kid.
Oh, Mercedes Carrera.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if you have
Her work is good. Don't shit on her.
What?
I've seen
Her work is good.
Her is good.
Well, her work may be good, but her acting sucks.
Yeah, if you have someone they deem as
no one actually watches a porn star for the acting. That's the only reason why they become porn stars is because they failed at acting.
No, but that's the immersion of it. But that's porn acting is athleticism, so they say.
It can be.
Coon says, dude, Kyle thinks the furry community are nice people.
I'm sure they are. It's just, I think their fetishes are weird.
He has no standards, Coon says.
Well, it's bigoted to have standards according to that kind of worldview that much of the anti-theist community has.
Yeah. Then there's the pansexuals who are bisexuals with no standards. Yeah. Anyway, any closing thoughts, Barras?
No, not really. I just want to say, of course, that I believe that Steven Anderson and this cult are obviously wrong. They're bigoted. I'm glad I was able to help out in the very limited sense that I could. But I really do hope that this matter gets resolved in some meaningful way.
Amen.
Yeah, like I said, I have to say it again. Steven Anderson and his church and that new fundamental Baptist, whatever it is, they're pieces of shit.
To say the least.
Cancer, yeah, to say the least.
All right, that's it. Share, like, and subscribe, and see you next time.
That's all she wrote. Thank you, gentlemen.
No problem, man.